They greet you warmly, all smiles, yet behind that smile is a hidden blade. They call you family, but only as long as you serve a purpose. They applaud your achievements right up until those achievements outshine their own. No one says it outright, but every man recognizes the sensation, that faint discomfort in social settings, that instinctual warning in the pit of your stomach. Some call it paranoia. He called it insight. Because one of the most dangerous myths we're sold is the belief that people are naturally good, that friendships are unconditional, that if you give loyalty, you'll receive it in kind. But that's not how influence operates. That's not how the deeper layers of human behavior function. The man they feared and misread understood something most refused to admit. Kindness is often tactical, loyalty is temporary, and in power dynamics, friendship is rarely genuine. Look around. Every handshake, every alliance, every seemingly affectionate gesture, none of it is grounded in pure sentiment. It's rooted in advantage. Even closeness has currency. Even love has terms. People stick around because you fulfill a role in their narrative emotionally, financially, socially, or psychologically. And once that role fades, the mirage dissolves. That's when the truth emerges. This isn't cynicism, it's clarity. Because once this truth clicks, not just mentally, but at the core of your being, you stop being the naive one. You stop sacrificing for those who wouldn't even offer help if you stumbled. You stop betting on fantasies. And you start moving with purpose, with calculation. You may find yourself standing alone, but in that solitude, a sharper, stronger form of power takes shape. One that doesn't beg for validation. One that pierces the illusion. One that walks solo but sees everything. So if you've ever been blindsided by betrayal, if you've ever watched someone shift, the moment you began to ascend, if you've ever doubted the authenticity of your tightest bonds, this message isn't just relevant, it's personal. Because the truth he grasped and most fears to face is this: the journey to real power starts with a cold, freeing truth. No one is truly your ally. And in that realization, you gain an edge most never will. Loyalty is glorified. We're taught that upright men are loyal, that true companions never walk away, that loyalty is a virtue in itself. But he saw the darker layer. Loyalty is never absolute. It's conditional, fleeting, driven by benefit, fear, or convenience. He cautioned leaders to be wary of affection and not to place blind faith in allies. Why? Because allegiance is to self-interest, not to you. And once that interest shifts, so will their loyalty. He wrote, "Promises were necessary yesterday. Breaking them is necessary today." That wisdom doesn't just apply to rulers, it speaks to every relationship you've held. Think about the ones you trusted most. The friends you believed were forever. The coworkers who lifted you up when you matched their level. The partner who once swore they'd never leave your side. How many of them disappeared as you grew? How many went quiet when you needed their voice most? We comfort ourselves with excuses. He's overwhelmed. She's just in a weird place right now. But often the truth is simpler. You no longer serve their purpose. They may not have meant to cause harm, but truth more often than not isn't gentle. People stay close to what benefits them, and once your presence no longer feeds their ego status or sense of security, they quietly fade away. Machiavelli didn't despise humanity, he simply refused to idealize it. He saw Florence's court not as a place of virtue or justice, but a stage full of masks where nobles exchanged flattery by day and schemed each other's downfall by night. And the higher you rose, the more smiles surrounded you, and with them, more hidden blades. That truth hasn't changed. Today, loyalty frequently wears the disguise of friendship. But look more closely. Is that person standing beside you out of belief in your soul? Or because your approval, your position, or your support provides them with safety? If your power vanished tomorrow, would they still be there? This isn't a message meant to make you bitter. It's a call to awareness, because when you understand that loyalty is a calculated move, not a moral virtue, you stop letting it control you. You stop confusing convenience with character. You begin observing people through a new lens. You stop wondering, why did they leave, and start asking, what role did I play in their life? That is the first step towards strategic self-defense. Let go of the illusion that people are loyal to you. They're loyal to the version of you that fits their needs, their projections, their gains, their comfort. And when that no longer serves them, the bond dissolves just as easily. So what should you do? You stop trading loyalty for acceptance. You stop offering your energy to those who treat you as a tool. You build alliances, not emotional chains. You offer value but never become dependent. Machiavelli taught that a wise man navigates the world like a seasoned chess player, not reactive but calculating precise. He doesn't hate the other players. He just understands their purpose. And so must you. That doesn't mean rejecting love or trust altogether. It means lifting the veil, learning to see others as they are, not as you wish they were. Because in a world where everyone wears a mask, the most powerful form of insight is not manipulation, it's vision. Let's go further. Have you ever noticed how quickly people change sides during turbulent times? One misunderstood remark, one shift in influence, and the very people who once praised you vanish or worse, oppose you. That's not betrayal, it's human instinct under pressure. Machiavelli counseled rulers to rule through calculated fear, not affection, because fear is steady where love is fickle. In essence, people are more dependable when they need you than when they simply like you. Harsh, yes. But once you grasp this, it sets you free. You stop suffering for those who only love you in fair weather. You stop justifying yourself to those who refuse to understand. Most importantly, you stop being caught off guard when loyalty disappears with your usefulness. You start moving with precision, kind but not gullible, welcoming, but cautious, generous, but impenetrable. This is rule number 1 in the Machiavellian playbook: never depend on loyalty. Recognize its shelf life. No one is your ally in the way you may wish. But once you accept that not just in theory, but at your core, you unlock the most dangerous power of all: freedom from illusion. We're raised to believe that kindness is a virtue, a universal marker of goodness. That if you're nice, others will return the favor. That being agreeable, gentle, and well-liked will earn you respect and open doors. But Machiavelli understood something different. He knew that when kindness isn't backed by strategy, it often gets confused for fragility. In the arena of power, friendliness isn't admired, it's exploited. This isn't a suggestion to be cruel. It's a warning. If your goodness isn't paired with strength, it becomes the very thing that limits you. We've all witnessed it. The man who constantly tries to please everyone, always accommodating, always saying yes. He thinks he's being honorable, that he's winning affection. But something else is happening beneath the surface. People start to see him as non-threatening, easily controlled, and ultimately disposable. They come to expect his obedience. They test how far they can push. They mock his silence. And the harder he tries to win favor, the more invisible he becomes. Machiavelli would have seen this as a fatal vulnerability because it hands your power to those who value you the least. When you lead with kindness, hoping it will shield you, you don't inspire admiration. You become a convenience, a tool, a forgotten name once you're no longer needed. But if you lead with presence, a calm, unwavering strength, you demand attention, respect, and even caution. Machiavelli famously argued that it's better to be feared than loved if you must choose. Not because fear is brutal, but because it commands distance, defines limits, and ensures consistency. Love, in contrast, can invite misuse, especially in a world where people are driven more by benefit than by principle. That's the cold, uncomfortable truth. People often interpret kindness as ignorance. They mistake gentleness for weakness. And unless you learn how to balance compassion with power, you'll be trampled and resented the moment you resist. So how do you avoid this downfall? You must refine what Machiavelli called the art of appearances to be warm when it works in your favor, distant when it protects your peace, generous when it boosts your influence, and relentless when survival calls for it. This isn't about being fake. It's about recognizing that in a world full of opportunists, exposing your true self too easily is dangerous. The man who wears his heart on his sleeve will be betrayed. The one who reveals his game plan will be undermined. The person who begs for recognition rarely receives it. Kindness without foresight is like a lamb walking straight into a den of wolves. Let's go further. Why does being kind often attract mistreatment? Because many individuals instinctively test the boundaries of everyone they meet. Whether consciously or not, they probe, they provoke, they see how far they can go. And if you never push back, they assume there are no boundaries at all. They won't say it, but internally they think this person won't challenge me. They avoid conflict. I can take more, and they will. Not because they're evil, but because people react to what you allow. If you let someone speak over you, they'll make a habit of it. If you consistently give more than you receive, it becomes the expectation. If you never say no, you're not viewed as kind, you're seen as weak. In the end, niceness becomes a prison one you built with your own hands. So what would Machiavelli suggest? He'd urge you to preserve your kindness, but turn it into a weapon. Use it deliberately, not automatically. Offer it only to those who genuinely honor its worth. Speak with gentleness, but understand when silence speaks louder. Extend a hand, but never at the cost of your own self-respect. And above all, remain unpredictable. Machiavelli believed that unpredictability was among the greatest shields a person could wield. When others can't anticipate your reactions, when they're unsure whether your calm demeanor hides fire, they proceed with caution. They respect your boundaries. But if you always respond with submission, you become predictable. A character they've seen before a puppet, they can manipulate with ease. There's a dangerous lie we've been sold that being feared is wicked, that power and compassion can't coexist. But that's a myth spread by those who fear losing control of you. Real power lies in the ability to be both. A man who is capable of kindness and yet does not fear being feared. A man who leads with integrity but refuses to grovel. A man who can smile not to win approval, but because he chooses to. That's the way out of the niceness trap. Not by turning cruel, but by becoming sovereign. So remember this truth: your kindness should be offered, not demanded. Your empathy should be intentional, not assumed. Your approval must be earned, never taken for granted. Because when strength supports kindness, it becomes sacred. But when kindness stands alone, it becomes your cage. Betrayal doesn't come from enemies. It comes from those you once laughed with, trusted, and protected. And that's what makes it so cutting. It doesn't arrive with a sword, but with a familiar smile and a silent shift. Machiavelli grasped something most people still deny. Loyalty is not everlasting. It's temporary, delicate, and always subject to change. The idea that friends, partners, even your inner circle could one day turn against you is unsettling, but also enlightening. Because once you comprehend the psychology behind betrayal, you stop seeking unwavering loyalty and start crafting strategic resilience. Let's break it down further. Humans are inherently opportunistic. We're built to pursue comfort, recognition, security, and influence. And we often change allegiances when a better option appears. We wrap this behavior in ethics, in noble reasoning, in stories of principle. But beneath it all, it's simple: people follow benefit in benefit shifts. One day you're the most valuable player in the room, the center of attention. The next, someone else steps up, more strategic, more influential, more formidable. And that's when loyalty silently begins to fade. The friend who once championed you starts whispering behind your back. The ally who promised forever vanishes. The lover who once clung tightly begins to drift, eyes drawn elsewhere. They don't betray you out of disappointment. They do it because they believe someone else offers more. And all your shared history in the world of power. History is just another story, and people rewrite it quickly if it helps them survive. Machiavelli cautioned, never place your trust solely in affection. He advised rulers, and by extension anyone with influence, to always consider betrayal a possibility. Not to become paranoid, but to stay vigilant. The biggest error you can make is believing loyalty is everlasting. Here's the harsh truth: when your power diminishes, so does their devotion. When your value fades, so does their attention. When envy grows, so does their quiet wish to see you fall. This isn't bitterness, it's psychological realism. Each of us carries shadows, buried drives for control, recognition, or revenge. Even the people closest to you might hold unspoken resentment, a jealousy they never express. They smile with you, stand beside you, laugh with you, but deep inside, they quietly root for your downfall. Not out of hatred, but because your success challenges their self-worth. And if an opportunity arises to raise themselves by dimming your light, many will take it. So what can you do? First, stop idealizing people. When you place someone on a pedestal, you give them power they haven't earned. When you expect unwavering goodness, you overlook warning signs. When you presume loyalty, you stop paying attention. Instead, observe their actions over time. Do they support you only when it benefits them? Do they shift their tone behind closed doors? Do they downplay your achievements instead of honoring them? These aren't trivial red flags, they're indicators of betrayal to come. Second, create leverage. Don't lean solely on emotional ties. Build value, cultivate skills, develop influence, accumulate assets. When your presence becomes essential, betrayal comes at a higher cost. Machiavelli understood that real influence isn't rooted in sentiment, it lies in necessity. Not in being adored, but in being vital. Third, don't respond to betrayal with raw emotion. When it happens, and it will, don't collapse. Don't plead. Don't chase explanations. See it for what it truly is, a shift in the balance of power. Then act with precision. Step back. Reassess. Reinforce your position. Don't allow one act of disloyalty to blind you to the rest of the field. Because here's a truth: most people shy away from betrayal is inevitable. You can't eliminate it, you can only be ready. So ask yourself and be brutally honest. Who benefits when you stay silent? Who would feel secretly satisfied if you stumbled? Who do you trust merely because facing the alternative is uncomfortable? Take a moment. These aren't judgments, they're prompts for awareness. And if you've ever been betrayed, share your experience. Not to seek pity, but to draw strength. Because your pain carries wisdom, and your scars are not flaws, they're your armor. If you're still holding on to the belief that loyalty is guaranteed, ask yourself this: if everything you had was gone tomorrow, who would remain? That's your answer. That's your truth. And if you've been navigating life expecting fairness, believing your kindness would always be returned, assuming your friends would stay true when power shifts, then you're not seeing reality. You're living in the fantasy Machiavelli urged us never to believe. You step into the room and suddenly the noise fades. Not from respect, not from admiration, but because your presence casts a shadow on their sense of worth. Power separates not by intent, but by its very nature. And as you ascend, you begin to see the truth. When the king walks in, there are no cheers, only bowed heads or quiet plodding. Machiavelli grasped this harsh paradox. He warned leaders to avoid relying on affection, to distrust public praise, and to never confuse closeness with loyalty. Because once you wield real influence, not fame but actual power, you sacrifice what most people cling to their whole lives: the illusion of genuine camaraderie. Let's not sugarcoat it. Most people want your success as long as it doesn't outshine theirs. They'll cheer for you until your brightness reveals their own insecurities. They'll walk with you, but only so long as the path is easy and familiar. Move too far ahead and you'll find yourself walking alone. That loneliness isn't punishment, it's the natural orbit of influence. Because to think for yourself, to take action without seeking approval, to create your own direction in a world that rewards obedience, is to become alien to the crowd. And the more autonomous you become, the more intimidating you seem. People don't envy what they comprehend. They envy what they cannot predict or control. And nothing unnerves the average person more than someone who doesn't flinch, doesn't explain, doesn't ask for permission, and doesn't depend on them. Machiavelli urged rulers to find comfort in solitude. Because in solitude, you gain perspective. And with that perspective, strategy flourishes. But don't be fooled, this path isn't soft. There's an icy edge to self-sovereignty. It means choosing without applause. It means making moves that won't earn approval. It means saying no when yes is expected. It means losing relationships not because you push people away, but because you no longer needed them. Here's the raw truth: most connections are built on shared needs. Remove the need and the connection often dissolves. Build enough strength to no longer rely on anyone and watch how quickly they fade. But know this: that void has power. In that quiet space, free from the addiction to validation, lies your deepest truth: you are complete. Not in the cliche sense, but in the Machiavellian reality. You carry within you the strength to walk alone and still shift the world around you. Solitude doesn't mean isolation, it means autonomy. It means becoming your own advisor. It means placing more faith in your instincts than in the voices of the crowd. When you stop needing applause, manipulation loses its power. When you quit chasing validation, freedom takes its place. And when you're no longer afraid of being alone, you become untouchable. This is why Machiavelli's ideal prince may seem distant, even ruthless. Because warmth, tempting though it may be, blurs the clarity needed to rule. And clarity is the most lethal weapon of those who truly understand power. But be prepared, many will attempt to guilt you for this transformation. They'll label you as cold, conceited, detached. They'll claim you've changed, that you've lost who you were. But in truth, what you've shed is their control. You've broken the invisible threads of social programming, the compulsion to please, to be accepted, to fit in at all costs. And by doing so, you've become formidable. Here lies the paradox: the moment you stop depending on others, the right ones gravitate toward you. Not those who feed on your weakness, but those who admire your resilience. Not those who seek to mold you, but those who honor your autonomy. So welcome solitude. Don't run from it, use it. Use it to sharpen your intellect, to build unbreakable resolve, to evolve into someone who not only endures betrayal and loneliness, but rises through them. Because in this ruthless arena of power, there is one certainty: the one who walks alone walks faster. You've wandered the dim hallways of power, guided by Machiavelli's insights. You've discovered that loyalty can mask deceit, that kindness is a blade, and that influence demands emotional solitude. But this isn't a story of despair. It is a handbook for self-rule. At the core of Machiavelli's doctrine lies one essential revelation. Trust is strength, but it must be wielded like a blade with two edges. To endure, you must learn not only who is worthy of trust, but how to shield yourself from its risks. Trust without discretion is frailty. Trust without boundaries is submission. Be like the fox that spots the trap and the lion that keeps predators at bay. Machiavelli reminded us, this is your path to mastery: to see beyond the surface, to anticipate deception, and yet still face the world with determination and clarity. Trust, therefore, is not blind faith, it's a strategic gift. Ask yourself who has shown reliability, consistency, and whose values truly align with yours, not just when it's easy, but when storms come. These are the few who merit your trust. And even then, grant it carefully like a precious gem, because trust once fractured is nearly impossible to restore. At the same time, self-protection must be your unwavering principle. Your mind, your name, your influence, these form your empire. Guard them relentlessly. You don't reveal your strategy to everyone. You don't lay bare your vulnerabilities without caution. Every truth shared, every emotion exposed, becomes a tool for those who seek to undermine you. And yet true power demands equilibrium. It is the dance between skepticism and sincerity, between giving and withholding. Machiavelli's ideal prince is not without emotion, he is intentional. He gives love wisely, trusts sparingly, and speaks with calculation. This equilibrium, the artful balance between trust and self-defense, is the mark of true dominion. This is the contradiction of real power. You must stay open enough to build meaningful bonds, but guarded enough to survive betrayal. You must forge alliances based on shared interests, not blind devotion. You must inspire respect through strength, not through fear or desperation. For you, this means developing acute perception, learning to hear what's not spoken, to detect the motives beneath the words. It means honoring your own worth enough to reject being used. It requires the bravery to cut ties that sap your energy, to discard comforting illusions, and to acknowledge that most won't treat you with the depth you give them. The ultimate and most profound lesson Machiavelli leaves us is this: you are your most reliable ally. No one else's devotion is certain. No one else's generosity comes without limits. No one else's affection is permanent. But your insight, your discipline, your foresight, these are yours alone. Protect them fiercely. Hone them relentlessly. Use them to steer through a world built on pretense and manipulation. Now take a moment to reflect. Power does not belong solely to the ruthless or the heartless. True power is the art of seeing things as they are. It is the bravery to gaze into the void, to recognize the cold mechanics of life, and still act with purpose, precision, and unwavering drive. To understand that no one is truly your ally is not despair, it's emancipation. Freedom from illusions. Freedom from emotional dependency. Freedom from the lies of blind optimism. That freedom grants you the strength to move, to lead, and to win on your terms. This is your awakening. Accept this reality. Let it fortify your spirit, but not freeze it. Walk this road of power with clear eyes and unwavering intent. Turn your solitude into self-rule. Convert your seclusion into resilience. Refine your perception into true mastery. Because the game will never be just, but you can become the player who changes the game. If these words have sparked something in you, if they've challenged your assumptions, then I welcome you to keep walking this road. Subscribe to the channel where insight meets depth. Like this video if you've drawn strength from its tough truths. Share it with those unafraid to confront the real. And leave a comment, share your own story. What truths about influence have you struggled to accept? What experiences have reshaped how you understand loyalty and trust? Your voice belongs in this dialogue. Together we reveal the raw truth behind appearances. Until next time, stay watchful, stay sharp, and walk with sovereign resolve.